Maple Leafs Nation, are you feeling that familiar knot in your stomach? That potent mix of anxiety and fervent hope that only the promise of a truly game-changing move can bring? Because right now, the future of our beloved franchise isn't just being debated. It's being reforged in the white-hot crucible of trade speculation. Two distinct visions, two potential blockbusters, each promising to redefine our defense, our leadership, and the very soul of this team. If you're a true Leaf fan and don't want to miss a single detail of this unfolding saga, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. Because here, you'll always stay on top of what could transform the destiny of our team. Stay with us until the end because every detail could be decisive for what's to come. Before we begin, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates on our Toronto Maple Leafs. The calendar shows September 2025, and Toronto breathes hockey with the intensity of city that knows another decisive season is about to begin. At Scotiabank Arena, the spotlights haven't fully turned on yet, but Mitch Marner's shadow still hovers over every bar conversation, every sports radio show, and every analyst breakdown. How do you replace a player who for nearly a decade carried the torch of offensive creativity for the Maple Leafs? Maybe the answer is simple. You don't. A name that doesn't carry the same weight as Marner's, but now shoulders the expectation of keeping Toronto's playmaking flame alive. Marner's departure to the Vegas Golden Knights wasn't just a sports transaction. It was a cultural earthquake for the franchise. We're talking about a player who, despite criticism for quiet playoff performances, averaged over 90 points per 82 games across 9 years in Toronto. He wasn't just a playmaker. He was a very embodiment of both hope and frustration in blue and white. When Leafs general manager Brad Treliving referenced Billy Beane's philosophy in Moneyball, the path became clear. It's not about replacing Marner, but recreating production in parts spread throughout the roster. Now, let's get to the heart of the news. Despite the end a high level, Toronto has reportedly finalized a trade with the Utah Mammoth. The price? A conditional third-round pick in the 2027 draft, which becomes a second-rounder if Maccelli hits 51 points. A relatively low investment for a player who has already shown a higher ceiling, 57 points in his best season, and is still very young. However, the gamble comes with risks. In 2024-25, Maccelli fell out of favor in Utah. His ice time dropped by 2.5 minutes per game, often as a healthy scratch. The result was underwhelming. Just 8 goals and 18 points in 55 games. But Treliving sees potential where others see decline. In his own words, "We believe there's a bet here on a player who can bounce back from the season he had last year alongside some of the players we have. For the price it cost us, it was a chance worth taking." Maccelli? Let's dive into his profile. The 24-year-old Finnish left winger stands at 5 feet 11 inches and weighs just over 180 pounds. He's not a physical player, not the typical power forward, but he makes up for it with vision and passing precision. In his first full season, 2022-23, he led all NHL rookies with 38 assists. His pass completion rate into the slot was 51.5%, an elite level that put him among the top 40 passers in the league, right alongside names like Artemi Panarin and Patrick Kane. Not a small feat between 2022 and 2024. Nearly 36% of his assists came from passes that reached the slot, the most dangerous area on the ice, and more. 25 of Lawson Krause's 47 goals in Utah came from Maccelli passes, 19 of them primary assists. This shows that even without stars around him, he can elevate limited finishers. Of course, there's another side of the coin. In 2024-25, his completion rate plummeted to 41.7%. He dropped to 170th out of 266 forwards with relevant passing volume. His aggressiveness declined. His plays resulted in fewer one-timers, and his confidence seemed to slip away. What changes in Toronto? Here the scenario is radically different. Maccelli never had the chance to share the ice with talents like Austin Matthews, William Nylander, or even the rising Matthew Knies. In Utah, his main line mates were Nick Jugstad and Krause, respectable but far from elite finishers. In Toronto, just look at the lineup board. Placing Maccelli alongside Matthews and Knies could turn passes that previously died wasted into highlight reel goals on ESPN. Picture the scene. Maccelli received the puck on the left boards, draws defenders, spot a microscopic hole in coverage, and connects with Matthews in the inner slot. Goal. Crowd erupts. What used to be potential stats can now turn into immediate impact. The newly arrived coach will have crucial decisions to make. He could slot Maccelli on the top line with Matthews and Knies, forming a trio of youth, scoring instinct, and creativity. Knies, it's worth noting, scored 23 goals in the inner slot last season, behind only Jake Gensel and Braden Point. Now, imagine those numbers with more refined passing. The alternative will be playing Maccelli on the second line with John Tavares and Nylander. Here are the setup shifts. Tavares remains a reliable center in offensive cycles, and Nylander is coming off his best goal-scoring season. Max Pacioretty, Kaye Jarnkrok, and Bobby McMahon have filled that role, but none offer the playmaking talent Maccelli brings. Either way, the message is clear. He'll get meaningful top 6 minutes. That means power play time, especially on the second unit, and a chance to reclaim the playmaker status that once lost. Think comparisons. Calling Maccelli a Marner would be unfair and maybe impossible, but he can become a more affordable version of players like Matt Zuccarello or even Panarin in his early years. A passer who doesn't stand out physically, but whose vision can change games. The challenge, of course, will be mental. After a down year, the pressure in Toronto can be either a burden or an opportunity. Maccelli himself admitted, "I still know I'm better than I was last season. I just need to show it again." Strong words from someone who recognizes this as a turning point. First, cost benefit. A conditional third-round pick is a small price for a sub-25 player with a 50-plus point track record. If he fails, the loss is minimal. If he succeeds, it could be one of the biggest deals of the trail living era. Second, roster construction. Toronto isn't searching for one player to replace Marner. They're building a puzzle with multiple pieces. Knies stepping up as a rising scorer, Nylander solidified as a star, Matthews in his prime, and now Maccelli as a creative link. Third, cultural message. By bringing in a young player in decline and trusting him with a key role, the Leafs show belief in reinvention. It's the opposite of the old script of overspending on established veterans. Footage of Marner's Leafs highlights. His move to Vegas contrasted with close-ups of Maccelli on the ice in Utah. Graphics comparing slot pass stats from 2022 to 2024. Quick sequences of Matthews and Knies scoring goals interlaced with narration on how Maccelli could be the new creative engine. In the background, a rising dramatic soundtrack. Because this isn't just a story of numbers. It's about second chances, the pressure of wearing blue and white in Toronto, and the idea that sometimes to replace a star, you have to bet on someone who never had the chance to shine fully. The Toronto Maple Leafs don't have Mitch Marner and won't, but they might have something different. A multifaceted attack, less dependent on one player, more dangerous in its variations. Maccelli isn't the savior, but he could be the missing piece to turn good intentions into real production. The season will show whether Brad Trailoving spotted a hidden gem or just made a calculated gamble that doesn't pay off. But one thing is certain, Toronto's eyes will be on him. And in hockey, as in life, sometimes all it takes is one perfect pass to change everything. The summer of 2025 is coming to an end, and hockey fans in Toronto are left with that bitter feeling of endless waiting. Months spent following Rumours, forum insiders, and reports that promised big moves in the trade market. But in practice, nothing happened. The conversations cooled down, the names faded away, and Maple Leafs fans grew accustomed to disappointment. Still, a spark reignites the debate. The name of Bowen Byram, a talented defenseman from the Buffalo Sabres, is once again at the center of speculation. A young player with a rare ability to move the puck and generate offense from the back end. Exactly what the Toronto Maple Leafs have been searching for in their blue line for years. Let's go over the context. Bowen Byram, 24, is not just another defenseman in the NHL. Drafted 4th overall in 2019 by the Colorado Avalanche, he entered the league surrounded by expectations. Fast, Confident with the puck and aggressive in offensive transition, he has always been seen as someone capable of redefining how defense is played. In Denver, he shined in key moments, including the 2022 Stanley Cup run, where he contributed solid minutes when it mattered most. However, injuries and inconsistency have held back his rise as a full-fledged star. In 2024, Byram was traded to the Buffalo Sabres in a move meant to inject new energy into the franchise's young project alongside Rasmus Dahlin. The vision was to form one of the most talented defensive pairings in the league. Now, just months after signing a 2-year extension worth $12.5 million, questions arise. Is Byram truly, despite still playing at a high level, a short-term solution for Buffalo, or could he be moved? Maple Leafs received Bowen Byram. Sabres received Brandon Carlo, Nick Robertson, Kaye Jarnkrok. Kearney argues this would be a balanced trade for Toronto. Byram's arrival would mean acquiring the type of defenseman the team has been missing for so long. Someone capable of carrying the puck, breaking lines with vertical passes, and turning defense into offense in a single play. For Buffalo, the departure would be offset with Brandon Carlo, a steady 27-year-old defenseman with a stable contract and a more physical profile who could immediately pair with Dahlin. On top of that, Nick Robertson and Jarnkrok would add offensive depth, especially for a team still seeking stability in its forward lines. General Manager Brad Treliving has made it clear in recent interviews. His top priority is shaking up the blue line. Toronto's defense remains the team's Achilles heel, especially when it comes to playoff hockey. The absence of an elite offensive defenseman limits transition and puts too much pressure on forwards like Austin Matthews and William Nylander, who often get the puck in less favorable situations. Byram would solve exactly that. He brings mobility, vision, and youth. It's no coincidence that insiders like James Myrtle and David Pagnotta have already mentioned Toronto's interest in adding this type of player. Pagnotta even pointed out that despite his new contract, Byram's situation in Buffalo is not entirely stable. With Byram on the roster, head coach Craig Berube would have some intriguing options. He could pair him with Morgan Reilly, turning the first offensive unit into a rare offensive threat in the NHL. Imagine two blue liners capable of carrying the puck and consistently joining the attack. This would open space for Matthews, Knies, and Nylander to receive the puck deep in the zone with more room to finish. Another option would be to pair Byram with Timothy Liljegren or Simon Benoit, balancing mobility and security. That way, Reilly would remain the anchor on the top pair, but Toronto would gain real depth on the second unit. And on the power play, the possibilities are even more exciting. Byram has the skill to run the point, distributing passes, and creating lanes for Matthews and Nylander on the wings. He could slide in on the second unit, or even push Reilly for time on the first. Either way, he would instantly become the most creative defenseman Toronto has had in years. Byram's injury history is concerning. Between concussions and other issues, he has already missed over 100 games since his NHL debut. He requires constant monitoring. On top of that, Buffalo won't be eager to part with such a young talent without a significant return. Carlo, Robertson, and Jarnkrok are valuable, but perhaps still not enough to sway the Sabres. From a contract perspective, Byram would carry a $6.25 million cap hit until 2027, reasonable for his talent, but one that would still require careful management within Toronto's cap structure, already strained by its stars' contracts. The Sabres face a dilemma. Rasmus Dahlin is the face of the franchise, and Owen Power is emerging as another cornerstone on defense. Does that make Byram a luxury? Maybe. At the same time, Carlo would bring immediate defensive stability, and Robertson still has upside to become a productive winger. Jarnkrok offers versatility in the bottom six, capable of playing both center and wing. Still, moving on from Byram so soon after investing in him might feel like regression. Buffalo's fan base would likely not take kindly to trading away such a promising young piece for players who, while useful, don't carry the same potential impact. Here the perspective is different. For Leafs Nation, long frustrated by defensive shortcomings in the playoffs, Byram's arrival would feel like fresh air, a bold, risky move, but one that signals ambition. Treliving will be sending a clear message. It's time to invest in youth and dynamism, even if it costs offensive depth. Visually, this video could alternate between clips of Byram in Colorado and Buffalo, highlighting his puck-carrying ability. Graphics could showcase his transition metrics, compared to Toronto's current blue liners. It would also be interesting to display possible defensive pairings, simulating how Toronto's blue line could look with his addition. The soundtrack should build an intensity matching the narrative, from the suspense of speculation to the detailed trade breakdown to the excitement of the real possibility. Will this deal actually happen? As of now, nothing is imminent, but the mere fact that Bowen Byram is on a radar shows the Toronto Maple Leafs are ready to move beyond surface-level tweaks. The team needs a dynamic defenseman, and Byram fits the mold perfectly. Whether the price is manageable, whether Buffalo is willing to part ways, or whether Trailoving will have to pivot to alternatives like Mikhail Sergachev, it's too early to tell. But one thing is clear. This story is only just beginning, and every Leaf fan knows the blue line cannot stay as it is. Fate may well be decided in the coming months, and who knows, when the puck drops to the 2025-26 season, he could be wearing blue and white, ready to reshape the defensive identity of the Maple Leafs. So, what do you think, Leafs Nation? Which of these potential moves excites you more, or perhaps worries you? Do you believe Matias Maccelli is a hidden gem that will unlock new offensive dimensions for the Leafs, or is he too much of a gamble? And what about Bowen Byram? Is he the dynamic defenseman we need, even at the cost of 3 valuable pieces? Or do you think the risk is too high? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for all the latest breaking news and analysis on your Toronto Maple Leafs. We thrive on your passion and insights.